to Lotus Path Holistics. My name is Leonardo, and this is...
I'm Luna. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday, and happy Saturday to the rest of the world.
Yes, welcome everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Honest with Leo and Luna. So this is our season finale, our season 2 finale. And it's been quite a journey. We're excited to be here. And we're going to be talking about a specific topic, which includes healing your inner child. And it's about the gift of healing. So, these weeks that we've been talking about spiritual gifts. And, spiritual gifts from the inside, from the outside, all the way down. And I look forward to being able to summarize this in an article soon so that, the basic curriculum based on understanding can be understood by all of you guys. Thank you for joining us all these weeks. We look forward to the end of any questions you got and also discussing our favorite moments and everything. Hey, Sharon.
Hey, Sharon.
Hello.
Good morning.
So, yes, Wednesday I posted a video about healing your inner child and also just summarizing what healing really is and how that gift that we have inside actually leads towards other things. And so let's recap a little bit about that and then get Luna's very expert perspective. So, so we didn't really introduce ourselves, but I am Leo. I am a spiritual medium, past life therapist, and spiritual educator. I love educating people, especially about spirituality, because it is deep within me. And I like, fitting everything in a box. But Luna here is very good at inner child healing and all of that. So she's going to give us a lot of great perspective today. So tell us about you.
Yeah, so my name is Luna and I'm a Karmic Resolution Facilitator. So I do work with karma, trauma, and drama across lifetimes. And that actually includes healing inner child, not just this lifetime, but across lifetimes. So this is I would just say one of the main things that I work with my soul clients.
Yes, indeed. So for the past 2 weeks and 3 weeks now, we've been talking about the outer spiritual gifts, which are the gifts that are usually affect our regular life. They include, spiritual power and potency, empathy that actually comes out in your, real life. Because empathy, though it might be within, it really gets without. It deals with all the external attributes of life. And then now healing. So healing itself is part of the physical consciousness. It's part of how we fix and repair things in our life. Healing is an outer physical nature, and it is about the supporting and nurturing persona that a lot of healers and motherly figures also hold when they're, taking care of their young. It's the ability to protect and shield and, all those things. So, like when you hear a lot of people in spiritual and the industry, they're like, shield and put your shields and put your shields.
Yeah.
It comes from like a healing sense inside of us that actually creates barriers to protect different wounds that we all carry. And also fixing and repairing broken energy. It's something that is powerful, but it's something that a lot of us naturally do and some of us that we learn how to do. Repairing broken energy. That's what healing is all about. Fixing things throughout time. So then we're going to talk about, I guess, deeper into the power of healing. A lot of healers that I meet, they end up being people that they shine so bright. They shine like their soul shines bright, their spirit shines bright, and that bright energy really like heals people around them. Like you walk in a room and you have a very healing energy in a person. And you're just feeling all the light and it's like the sun is just, it just feels like that sometimes. And it just feels like being around that person just heals you. A lot of times you meet a healer where you want to be around them because you feel blissful and peaceful. And we've all had those people in our life, for sure. There's also something else about healing. It's all about energy. So the advanced skill of healing is about energy work. And because you're manipulating physical energies, that's what healing is manipulating physical energies to fix the broken. And it's also can lead towards energy work that includes manipulation of energy. So like manipulating elements, manipulating things like telekinesis, some people can do it. Manipulating time energies and just things that are physically in your life. So yeah, energy work is something that definitely has been in our past and something we've definitely been into. Things that are similar to Reiki and stuff. And yeah, it's been quite a journey. So yeah, tell us more about like what healing is to you and how that physical energy really represents itself.
So first of all, I want to say something about healing in general, where many people, address it. So the big question is, where does the healing energy come from? And some people say, oh, it is not from me. Some people say it is from me. Some people say it is God. Some other people say it is the universe. Um, some other people claim, according to what they remember, from the past life, because this is how it usually is, right? Whatever memories you have, this is where you resonate the most. Some people say that, well, maybe it's from a different universe or from a different place or from the source itself. And so, to be honest with you, there is no right or wrong into that. And it is according to the healer's experience and what exactly they remember. So some people have energy themselves. So let's say, for example, that, from past lives, a person was like a creator or a creatrix, right? It was like godlike mentality where they would just create and heal and help other people. So when you are in that state and then you transform into different forms across lifetimes, and let's say that part, of that person right now is, in a reality where you cannot have that, creator godlike sense, you still don't remember that you can actually heal others with your energy, and it doesn't make sense if it is someone else. So let's say other people, shamans, right? So shamans, which is another healing part, they just travel. I do that too. They travel across, different realms, the underworld, the middle world, the upper world, bringing healing, from different energies, different animals. So there's so many different types. So some other people might say, I only have healing, I'm just a vessel and I just bring healing from God. Yeah, this is their experience as well. I've seen that before where they just, the body becomes just literally the vessel for energy to come in and heal. So everything is right. Let's put it that way. There's no right or wrong when it comes to healing. It is according to the experience of the healer and what they remember from their soul path.
Yeah, I agree. And healers, it depends. I feel like all spiritual people are healers to some extent, especially with their intentions. But it depends because all spiritual people are people in general are empaths, but it doesn't mean that you're good at it. It just, you're naturally good at these specific things. Some people are just really good at being able to heal people. And it's very different. I notice it's very, very different. But yeah, let's talk about the curse of healing. The curse of healing is pain. The opposite of a healer is somebody who walks in the room and loves to cause people pain, or their essence, their presence in a room is like vampiric, and it causes people to explode with negative emotions. Energy vampires, I guess you can call it that way as well. Just people who just do not help, people who are just the opposite of healing. But unfortunately, when you are embracing a gift like healing, you have to deal with the pain aspect as well. You might not be a person who loves to cause pain to people rather than fix things. But you have to understand that when you have a healing ability, it brings people with pain to you. It attracts it to you. So a lot of you know or are healers who have this sensibility to help people in your life. And then you have people being attracted to you who are just like broken people with so many problems and pain. And you're like, oh my God, I'm just like a magnet, a problem magnet. But that's not really what it is. It's just that the curse of healing is that you will have lots of pain to fix, or you will attract people with the same pains that need to be fixed. It's just kind of the way it goes, yin yang. And you have to own that. You have to embrace the pain. You have to understand that healing is not about love and light. Healing is about taking the dark, understanding it, stitching it up, bringing it back to the light while its feet are still in the dark. So as sort of like the in and out of what healing should be, you know, rather than what a lot of people in the spiritual industry are often saying, which I think is just incorrect. Well, not incorrect, it's incomplete. It's incomplete to tell someone that healing is just, oh, just feel the love and just feel it warm around you. No. How about we get to the problem? How about we heal the source of the problem? It's like a doctor. They're not gonna be like, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling today? No, they want to take a blood test. They want to know where it's coming from. They want to know what the problem is. It's the same spiritually. You can't heal someone unless you're trying to find the source to the problem. So that's my opinion. I mean, educated opinion. I think that that's just the way it is. You have to be balanced when you're trying to be a healer. So yeah, what's your perspective on the curses of healing in and out of the practice?
The thing with healing is that, first of all, let's start with that. There's not a perfect healer. There's no such a thing. There's not a person where it's going to be, a perfect state of mind where I can help, everyone and everything and just fix it all. Not at all. I would just tell you that. Because you heal as you heal your own trauma. And this is how it goes. So you attract, the people that resonate with your own trauma. Mm-hmm. And so you cannot just say that I just heal someone. It's exactly what Leo said. I do believe it. You cannot just say, oh, love and light, everything's going to be okay. I'm sending you blessings. This is not going to help. It's going to help afterwards. This is kind of like, I would just say, the warmest part of the end of the healing, when someone has went through, that path where they have acknowledged the pain, they have acknowledged the drama, and then when they feel, vulnerable and just they need a hug and then to feel warm, this is the time you say, everything's going to be okay. I know it is, for example, we've done all that work, and then just hug them. And that's the best part, when you actually do one-on-one person healing, that you can actually be there for the person. Then this is the point where you tell them, sending you blessings, everything's going to be good, as far as you work with it. Another thing that I want to mention about healing is no one can really take your problems away. So if anyone just tell you that, it's going to be just temporary. And this is why the healer industry, the spiritual healer industry, has turned into, I would just say, a very toxic environment, to a point where there is that need and necessity, to go back to the person. It's kind of like, let's say that you have a cough, right? And you keep coughing all the time, you just have dry throat. And then it could be just from allergies, right? Let's say that's the main problem. And you keep going to the doctor, and the doctor's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. You don't have allergies. And they just give you like random pills, or they don't completely tell what the problem is. And you keep going back. And you still have allergies, you're still coughing, maybe you're feeling, your eyes are crying, you're just feeling itchy, all that stuff with allergies, right? But you still gotta fix your problem. You keep going back. First of all, you pay money. I'm a very big one on that, because you can't just keep giving your paycheck and then you get really nothing back. It can be just temporary, like, oh, I feel good for one day, and then the next day you're not feeling that good anymore, so you just need to go back to the doctor and then back to the spiritual practitioner. That is a very dangerous practice. I would just say that, because that creates a codependence between the healer and the person who goes to them. They feel good for one day, they relieve their problem, and then they just have to go back. And so that also reflects a part of the healer, where they are on their journey, what exactly they're accomplishing. There's something about themselves that they haven't healed yet. And so this is why they keep attracting that crowd. And that crowd also sees that on them. And there you go, that connection. So my best advice is, when you are looking for a healer, when you're looking for someone to help you in your path, make sure that you don't go there all the time, in a sense where I went like every week or twice a week. Once a month, yeah, it's okay. But if you go there all the time, if you have the need to be there all the time, you know that there's something wrong. Just please keep that in mind. That's very, very important.
True. Yeah, so let's talk about in past lives versus today. Because in past lives, healing was more like, it was more comparable to regular life, and it was like your inner child was always, there. A lot of healing is based in your soul, and your soul is like the seat of your inner child. So this is why these things are all connected into one. That's why we're going to segue into inner child work. So in past lives, it was very easy to heal because there wasn't really much of a separation. But in this lifetime, we are separated by trauma from our inner child, which separates us from our capabilities, which, spiritual people spend an entire lifetime almost trying to regain all those abilities. Because healing is a piece of the physical consciousness, and it is a piece of our physical life that's been separated from things. So, yeah, that is why it's super important. But it's also true what Luna said, which is that the healer is only as good as the balance within him. So, in this world, especially if you have someone who's imbalanced or with imbalanced intentions, the healing will never work. It's just the way it is. You got natural talent and give it all, but it won't stick. Your energies have the flavor of your internal circumstances, and you must have it under control. It's very much true.
Yeah. And so, when it comes to healing, I think that I wanted to mention as bonus to, to Leo's video, the first step before the healing is shadow work. And it's a very, very big topic that I would like to talk about. First of all, explain what exactly shadow work is. Our shadows are a part of ourselves. It's, by the way, part of psychology. So you can just look at it online as well. There is like a plenty of information. But in very, very simple words, it is a part of ourselves that is separated and I would just say cornered in a dark room, if you can visualize it that way. And it is neglected, ignored, and not acknowledged at all. And so this is because that part of ourselves carries so much trauma that sometimes you can't even touch it. So the only thing that you understand from your shadow self is all the emotions that most people call negative emotions. So anger, frustration, pain, codependency, all the problems that you would just have with, yourself or other people. And so when you try to work with those problems and you can just go further, it feels like a wall. It is that part of yourself that is looking for answers. And I would just say that part of ourselves is, sometimes when I work with it, I have worked with my own shadow and, my soul clients, sometimes is really angry. That part of ourselves doesn't even want to connect with us back because they feel so neglected.
Yeah.
And it feels so lost. And there's so much frustration there. Abandonment issues. That's like a really big thing. It feels abandoned, that part of ourselves. Like, why now? Where you been all this time? And so this is exactly what happens with the shadow. Once you pass the shadow, behind the shadow is the inner child. And so we would just say that our shadow self, it feels like a little bit more the grown up, maybe. Mm-hmm. It feels like the guardian, of the inner child. Hi, Colleen. It feels like the guardian of the inner child. And so before you touch the inner child, you have to pass through the shadow self. You have to pass through the part of yourself that is guarding, the inner child. And so to be able to start shadow work, you need to start asking the most uncomfortable questions. Who did it? Why they did it? Mm-hmm. How? What memories I don't remember? What is really bothering me? So the really, really, really big questions. That's, in very simple words, shadow work. And when you start asking those questions, you feel in those triggers. Sometimes you feel very emotional. Sometimes You just don't want to deal with it. But this is when the healing starts. That's what I want to mention. The healing starts the moment you start asking the most important questions about yourself. And so I would just say, when shadow work starts and when the healing starts, the first part of it is blame. It might take you and it's very, very natural. It might take a month. It might take even a year, years. Sometimes it's a huge process because the inner child that has been wounded, it means that someone hurt it. Because many people said the wounded inner child or inner child trauma. But who caused it? That's the question that so many people don't want to answer.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Because it goes back, mom, dad, grandparents, close family, maybe friends. And we're talking about from 1 years old to 10 years old, like at that time, the development, of the child.
Yeah.
And so this is like the huge question you have to ask yourself. And once you ask that question, it is when the inner child healing starts.
I agree. Well, that's a great introduction to shadow work. Yeah. Luna's very talented, I must say. All right, so I came up with 3 steps on my video, and I'm going to reiterate, and then we're going to get all of our opinions going. So the 3 transformative steps to healing your inner child. So I tried to break it down logically and emotionally based on 3 steps that can be taken, that should be taken if you're really truly trying to heal that inner world and the inner child within you. The first step is assessing your scars and understanding and acknowledging the scars that are there. So a lot of us go on and I had a shitty childhood, but everyone has a shitty childhood and whatever. But that's just not the way to heal yourself. You have to fully acknowledge the fact that everyone has scars, right? But you had scars, and you have to say and feel what that is. What are those scars that happened in your childhood? It could be as simple as, being bullied, or it could be as simple as, a friend stole your book and it scarred you for life. That could be it. So it's just getting into that world is super important to understand that if you want to heal your child, it's not about, it's you can't just start by let me just hug myself. No, you have to actually look deep within the pain. You have to see what are those scars on the surface of your soul. What happened? What hurt? So.
There's something I want to say about it.
Okay.
So you said, let me hug my inner child. I've done that, and I've also worked with many of my clients. You can't just go hug the inner child. It's not that easy, because imagine now a kid, right? Don't even think of yourself, because look at us an outside part. It's easier to understand. Imagine now a kid that has been verbally abused or has been bullied or something really bad has happened to their lives. And you have ignored that child, let's say, for years. And all of a sudden it's like, hi, let me give you a hug. No, don't hug me.
Yeah.
And it's a big thing. So you can't just go hug the inner child. The first thing, even if you don't hug, even if the first conversation you will have, you're going to feel rejected. You're going to feel abandoned. You're just going to feel like your inner child doesn't want to talk to you. And
yeah, that's true.
That's a really big thing. And sometimes it might take weeks of effort, because if you have ignored your inner child for years, let's say that you're 60 years old or 50 years old, you have ignored the inner child for 40 years, you think in one session you're gonna go to the child let me hug you, where you been 40 years? It's a very common thing, and it's not just my experience, it's also other practitioners. They have shared that experience with the inner child. It's not that easy to reapproach such a sensitive part of yourself that is wounded, neglected, and ignored for that long. So don't just try to hug it. Let's start with that. Don't do it. It needs time.
Yeah. I also think that that's true when it comes to having children and using them to heal your inner child is such a big mistake, because then you imprint the child with your problems. So don't do that. Don't do that. um, it's you can't go hugging other children to try to heal your inner child either. You can't try to hug other children to hug your inner child. That doesn't work that way. It's important that you do that self work. You really do have to take time with your friends, family, or professional like us to analyze what are your inner child problems, what are your scars that need to be fixed and faced. What is the separation of self? Because in this lifetime, we've all been separated from our innocence at some point, and it's always a painful thing. And to understand when that was really helps you regain your spiritual gifts. That's the whole point of understanding this, and we'll talk about it in a few. So the second step is reparenting yourself. And I'm going to let Luna take over this one because she's really good with this one. But basically, the second step after you actually acknowledge the scars that are there is then to reparent yourself in the habits that have been carried along from your parents and grandparents and everybody in your school. These things leave scars within you that cause you to act a specific way. So you can't go on and say, I want to be innocent and I want to be pure, and then, you go meet your boyfriend and then you slap him around. Like, that doesn't work because your habits don't justify what you're trying to feel inside. So you must unlearn those habits. You must unlearn bad habits. If you've seen it before, don't do it like that. It's all about reparenting what was okay, to understand if you could parent yourself and teach yourself a lesson in the past. Like the question people often ask, write a letter to my 15-year-old self. But in action, that's how I see reparenting. It's like taking action on thoughts of how you should fix the things that you were taught. So tell us about reparenting and how that second step can actually lead towards healing an inner child.
Yeah, so I wrote about it also Brains magazine some time ago about reparenting ourselves. It is a really, really huge thing. So what does exactly mean to reparent yourself? So, your mom and your dad, according, they raised you according to their own standards, their own beliefs, generation beliefs as well, from their parents or from their family. And, some of the things that they did, you didn't really like it, or you never resonated with it, or even it is when the trauma started in your life.
Yeah.
And so when you reparent yourself, technically you replace your parents with yourself. And so this is where you start working with masculine and feminine energy. Yeah. And so the masculine energy represents, I would just say, more logical things or more things that need to take action. And the feminine side is more, nurturing, more caring, and more emotional. And so the masculine side is going to represent your dad, and the feminine side is going to represent your mom. And that part of yourself, you really need to take care of the inner child. And you take care of it as if it was your own child. So having your own children or not having your own children, it is a really, really big lesson. And so how you do it is, you say, for example, what pattern I didn't like from my parents. Let's say, for example, for me, they always talked down to me for the art that I worked. And they would just always toss, the art away to the garbage can. So how would I reparent myself through that? I will have to do work where I create a safe environment for me to have, to create, like I did in my childhood, create art and be proud of myself. In action. We're not just talking about just, hey, I tap myself like, okay, that's good. No. Let's go get ice cream. What would you like as a child? That's a big thing. So let's say that you like myself, like I do art. So I drew something very nice. And I'm like, oh, that's such a nice piece. How do I reward myself? Because in the past, I never got rewarded. So this is where I step forward as a parent to myself. Be like, let me congratulate that kid, for doing so good. So maybe get ice cream, or maybe say we're gonna go to let's say have a walk, at the zoo for an hour. You can just have that. And this is a very, very simple example of how it starts. But parenting is, I would just say it's another important step where you separate yourself from your parents. And sometimes people don't want to do the work because they feel that they disconnect from their physical parents. But to some point, if you're trying to heal the trauma that it comes from them, you have to do the work in order to move forward. And then, in the future, you can just reconnect with them, but in a different sense, seeing them as not equals, I would say, but more of like, I understand where you're coming from. I respect you, but I don't want to associate it with your sense of thinking, if I can put it that way.
True. I agree, and that's a great way to put it, Luna. So the third step is about just it's awakening your spiritual gifts. So the way that spirituality works and inner child healing works, it's like unraveling all the things that you lost, because everything that you had in your life, right, in your childhood, is things that you can reclaim as an adult. So spiritual gifts are some of those things. And actually a lot of those things, because since the spiritual gifts come from within your soul and your innocence is within there, then excavating all those scars, fixing them, reparenting yourself leads towards awakening your spiritual gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Your spiritual gifts can be as simple as, giving the best hugs at work. Okay, that can be a spiritual gift. You can be a healer like that and have no clue. But it's about the deeper you go in there, the more powerful those hugs will be. And you enhance your spiritual gifts and you awaken every single one. So we go down the list, and all the weeks that we discussed about the spiritual gifts. When you dig deep and understand who you really are, you find out your talents, and then your inner child just expresses those talents. And then you start to understand what your gifts were from the beginning. So let's say you do inner child work, and then you realized, hey, you have a affinity for water, right? Then you might discover that one of your spiritual gifts is that you do water healing or sound healing with water or something like that, It's all relevant, and you can work off of that. So that's why awakening your spiritual gifts starts from that physical consciousness and actually solving your physical life. So then to drag it into your spiritual world. It's very key when it comes to past lives that we do, because when you really want your life to really change, you have to start to solve your physical world. So that's my 3 steps, and just 3 steps, 3 focuses, just how to get it started, because a lot of times people are like, let's heal your inner child, let's just love ourselves, and no, we should probably get down to the nitty-gritty. It's hard because no one wants to talk about the childhood, but we've all, had difficulty in our childhood, and it's time to talk about it. Just saying. So, yeah, before we recap on these weeks, if anyone has questions out there, feel free. If you have questions after the live, feel free. We would be happy to answer them. So, that's how it is.
Another thing that I would like to mention about awakening spiritual gifts. So, many, healers say that, or many, spiritual practitioners say, for example, let's say I'm doing Reiki, or I'm just learning, reading tarot cards, or I feel like I'm not getting better, or I feel like something is holding me back, I want to do better, or I'm not in touch with my intuition, and there's a big wall. That wall is between you and the inner child. You cannot progress in what you do unless you heal, because intuitively from past lives, from your soul journey, you do remember what you should be doing, but there's a reason why you're being held back. And I've seen that for myself, because I have been working with past lives for more than a decade, and I would just say my gifts have really sparked after intensively for almost 2 years. I did shadow work and inner child work, breaking those learned behaviors, which learned behaviors is, from your family. Let's put the words out there. Where's learned behaviors? They taught you how to be right now. Conditioning. They taught you what you can be and what you cannot be, according to what they think. And then limiting beliefs. It is exactly what they thought. They limited you because you can't do this or you cannot be there, because they thought that this is how far you can go. And so you take these things that start from your childhood, or sometimes they let the child dream, and then when they hit around teenage years, like, okay, now you can stop dreaming, and then just get into reality. So it's kind of like a slap on the face, like, whoa, I cannot dream anymore. It's like, this is the real world, honey, so you better get it together. So you're done with that kid stuff. You're not a kid anymore. How many times I've heard that? You're not a kid anymore, grow up. And it means that all your gifts, all your ambitions, all the things that you ever wanted, which means that all the things that you remember from your past lives, it puts a wall right there. You can't do it anymore because you have to integrate yourself in the physical world right now. And this is exactly what you need to work on. And once you start working once you start, push the wall and just break it and just go across and just let go everything that they taught you and fix your trauma, reparent yourself, this is when your gifts are going to start sparking, and this is when you're going to get better in what you do. No matter what you do, even if you have a flower shop, you will see the interactions with others, they're going to be different. People are going to be like, you feel different. Because when you have healed those wounds, you're more open to love. Loving yourself and loving others.
Mm-hmm. It's true. So let's discuss. So awakening your spiritual gifts, that's what this entire season was about.
Yeah.
And I love the way that, in understanding spiritual gifts, we've segued back to it at the very end, which is, deep down in your physical life, to really bring out your spiritual nature, you really have to be one with all pieces of who you are. And as adults, we're usually not one with our innocence. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
That I see with adults, is they're just disconnected from the innocence. How are you ever supposed to manifest your spiritual gifts if you don't embrace your true nature and your pure gifts from the very beginning? So over the weeks, we did discuss 6 paths to awakening your spiritual gifts. They dealt with the 6 main gifts based on 6 consciousnesses that I discussed in my curriculum on my website, which is creativity, intuition, intelligence, power, empathy, and now healing. And so we're going to discuss our favorite moments or just our best lessons from those weeks so that you guys can understand how we wrap that all up and how we understand spiritual gifts. So the week about creativity was, I think, the first week, and it was an interesting week because when we did it, I did understand that, in being creative...
Oh, I'm a visitor! Hi! Hi, Joe!
Somebody wants to say hi!
Somebody wants to say hi!
Sweetie.
Oh, good girl. Oh, such a kisser.
Well, here's a spiritual gift, and it's Fluffy!
Yeah, it's cute. Good girl, Joe.
Silly.
Oh, such a good girl.
She likes to be groomed with her own everything.
Oh. Oh, look at her. That's a healer right there.
Great. Now what are we going to do?
We need to talk about healing with pets, too.
That's true.
Because, when... another thing I wanted to mention is when I started doing inner child healing, Joy helped me a lot.
That's true.
Because she taught me a different way of nurturing myself. Joy, I was about to say that. I'm channeling her. She's very independent, but she's very loving as well. And so, setting the boundary between yourself and others. And so sometimes some people like, oh, let me heal you, and the energy is still out there and still healing. But you have to reclaim your energy back, another thing. So Joy came, she gave her hug, she gave her healing, she did all that, but she also removed herself from her situations. It's like, okay, that's enough, you guys. I'm gonna move on. And so showing, put a boundary when you're healing someone, and kind of like give them as a little gift, something to work themselves. That's exactly what she does. And that's another big thing that I learned from her. Don't take someone's problem away. I mean, I know people say, take the animal and just, help them heal you.
Yeah.
It's not the way you think, because I have met people who give the problems to the pets and the pets get sick. Don't do that.
That's true.
Allow the pets to show you ways to heal. So it's kind of like Joy's gonna give us like a little gift now. So that was her lesson right there for us to talk. She's like, take this and talk about it. And then I'm just going to remove myself from the situation. You don't need me to be there all the time. So being a healer and a teacher at the same time, which means, again, what we said in the beginning, don't have people depend on you, in a sense.
That's true. So yeah, beyond pet healing, awakening spiritual gifts. So in the first week, we talked about creativity. I thought it was a really great topic because I started to understand that creativity is more than what people realize. Like they think that, creativity is like a little bit of this, a little bit art, a little bit of painting, but no, creativity is like the mind opening up, our creative nature as creators. It's what makes us human, as being able to create other humans and to create other things. Creativity is like giving birth. It's creative. And I thought it was a beautiful thing to explore because truly with the lesson of manifestation, how to manifest your reality, it's really about your mindset. So I thought that was a wonderful way to put it. Yeah.
I would just say about creativity, the thing that I liked a lot is that you can be creative in so many ways. Like I would say, like Leo cooks. I create digital art. You can just do gardening. Anything really, where you put your energy in is creativity. And then you can just take to the next level, because when you create with your hands, then you can spiritually start creating and expanding your own gifts.
That's true. And the next week we talked about intuition, and I think that was great because in helping me understand like illusion and intuition, how those are put together, it's like it did explain a lot about my life and how intuition, I didn't gather it and I didn't fix it until I fixed all the illusions that I was in my life. So understanding that curse was super helpful for me. Yeah.
For me, intuition was more about that part of ourselves that remembers past lives. And it's very, very important. So when people ask, how would I know that? Because your soul remembers. That's that's the explanation that I have. I mean, from my experience and also my soul clients' experiences, that's exactly what that is. It's your little inner gift, that carries all the knowledge from all your past lives. And you can just, not just past lives, remember we talked about past lives, future time, future lives, future time. It's a very, I would just say, time gift, right?
Yeah, we talked about psychic abilities and all of it. So it was a really good time. And then intelligence versus ignorance, the mental consciousness, and about discerning the truth, super key in spirituality. I think that was such like a bitchy podcast because it was the truth. Like it was all the truth, and understanding that you can't just believe everything that you hear in the spiritual community. You have to discern the truth. You have to be able to tell the difference between who's lying and who's telling the truth. It just is. It's human nature. So I think that was. It was interesting to look at, and how gifts like that can lead towards channeling knowledge and knowing what's true and what's not true from other dimensions and other past lives. Super key.
Yeah, for me it's that too. Kind of like, when you channel something, just check your resources. Don't just
check your resources.
Remember the example?
Grab a book. Check your resources.
I still remember the example that I gave. It's so fun. It's kind of like walking down the street and someone is like, hey, I have this for you, or that knowledge, or they just tell you something. Do you believe them? Especially in Chicago, no. You can just trust anyone. So why would you trust anyone in the spirit realm? Just, check your resources in a sense. It's very, very important.
Yep. And then the following week we did power. And the spiritual consciousness, overall spiritual consciousness, that, is just I think the most powerful thing about that week was just talking about...
You know what I remember that week?
What?
It was about the club.
I don't remember that. But what I remember is about spiritual power and powerful influence, and how the more powerful you are, the more influential you are, and spiritual people have a lot of power, and we need to be responsible for it.
Yeah, don't you remember what we said? When you go to the club, just don't influence everyone around you. I remember that. But it's kind of like wherever you go, it's very, very important. If you're a very, very bright spiritual person, everyone's going to be attracted to you. It's going to like you or hate you.
That's true. So you got to take accountability for that.
Yep.
If you're spiritual, you will be affecting people's lives. So don't act like you won't.
Yeah.
Period. And then last week was about empathy and the emotional consciousness and how it leads towards, things like deep, reading energy in general, just reading all kinds of energy like I do in my practice. And it was good to talk about because it did help me sort of start to think about the things that led towards where I am today, and it felt good to be able to share that knowledge with everyone, for sure.
For me was the fact that when we empathize with other people, what kind of like boundaries we have between ourselves and others when we interact with someone, and then we just take that energy, they take it home, and then upset Leo, upset Joy, upset everyone. So you really, really need to have boundaries when you hang out with other people. You take the energy. So just, some people say just cleanse yourself, or just make sure that you let these energies, let that emotions or whatever you took, just let it outside your door. Just sweep it out. Just don't take it home with you.
That's true. And then this week is about healing in the physical consciousness. Like I said, I love the way it all sort of works out, and how at the end of the day, spirituality is about physicality, because it's about how you express that spirituality in your everyday lives. This is key, from the inner gifts to the outer gifts. That's what it's all about, from the beginning to the very end. So awakening your spiritual gifts. I do hope that we were able to help you over the past 7 weeks. Share this information with your friends, share it with your family. If you find anyone who's really struggling with their spiritual gifts, you will find the entire series on my YouTube channel, because I'll upload this and everything else on my YouTube channel, all of Luna's opinions and facts, and it's really helpful. So it's just like a starter. It's just like a starter kit. So as you watch this over time, feel free to share it with anyone who needs it. And who needs a different perspective on spiritual gifts and how to awaken them. Because we've done it, you'll do it, everyone's going to do it. So, it's been fun.
Yeah. That must be like, it was really, really exciting because, spiritual gifts, many people think, it's very, I would just say out of this world in a sense. It's kind of like on the spirit realm, and it doesn't even relate to our physical life. But it starts from here, I would just tell you that. If you don't connect the spirit world with the physical world, nothing is going to manifest. I would just tell you that. I mean, we've done that. Me and Leo done that. Like in the past, we said, just meditate for 3 hours. Just something is going, enlightenment is going to happen. Nothing happened. There's a reason why nothing happened. We tried all that. We read a bunch of resources. We also, double checking with what we know. They're like, how about we try things? But the only thing that we realize, the things start happening and start manifesting into your daily life once you start taking action. If you just expect things to happen, if you expect things, to just be telepathic, it's not going to happen just like that. You need to practice.
It's true. So thanks for joining us for this season. This is the season finale. Future projects, we're not sure. I'm not quite sure. I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to do something. I recently took on a new job, so there's a lot of plans that need to change. But we'll see. We'll see where we go from here. I think talking about the truth about a lot of things is very beneficial to us. It's very beneficial to you. So I look forward to making new projects in the future, whether they be about astrology or tarot or past lives, or just psychology, or just something interesting.
Yeah, if you guys have suggestions, just go ahead and write in the comments. So if there's something that you would like to hear from us, we'd just totally love to talk about it. Yeah. Because these conversations though, okay, let's say one more thing. So the conversation that we actually have with you guys and we do during our lives, it's conversations that we actually have at home technically every day. We talk about so many different things. And so we just thought, to take that part of our lives and bring it to you, because we're like, well, how about we, bring those thoughts to other people and just have conversations. What do other people do think?
Yeah, true. All right, so have a good night, guys. It's good to have you. And we look forward to our next project, whatever that may be. Spread the knowledge, spread the word.
Spread the joy.
Spread the joy. Spread the cat.
That's so cute.
And love you guys. I'm gonna do the Luna.
Leave you fun.
All right, have a great
Happy
night.
Friday and happy Saturday to the rest of the world.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.